I'm Bruno, and this is a video about the direct method, okay? Which is chapter number 3 of the book Techniques and Principles in Language Teaching, written by Diana Larsen Freeman. This video is also based on the article Direct Method, written by Steve Checkeney, who is a former American university teacher. The direct method, also known as the natural method, was created hundreds of years ago in Europe as a response to the grammar translation method. Its principal feature is the emphasis on the spoken language and no translation is allowed. The method received this name because of the fact that meaning is conveyed directly in the target language with the use of demonstration and visual aids. Observing the way the direct method is applied in a classroom, it is possible to infer some principles from its application, and this is what I'm going to present now. First, which seems to be also the most important principle, is the fact that the native language should not be used in the classroom. And this appears to be something coherent once the need to create the method came from the idea to make the students learn how to communicate directly in the target language. A second principle that must be observed is the fact that the teacher should not translate or explain to the students. He should, in fact, demonstrate, because when the teacher does that, he allows the students to associate. In order to do that, objects like relia and pictures should be used in the classroom environment, to clarify meaning for the students. Another important point is grammar is taught inductively. That is to say, students learn with examples to realize the rules, never with an explicit grammar rule on board, for example. It is also relevant to say that the syllabus in the direct method is based on situations. For instance, language people use when inviting someone to do something, language people use to refuse invitations, language people use at the bank or in different circumstances. Or even topics like geography, science, history, weather, sports, and etc. The reason why the syllabus is presented this way is that language is viewed primarily spoken, not written in the direct method. So students need to be familiar with the everyday speech in the target language, which involves learn how the native speakers of the language live. So, in other words, I'm talking about the culture of the native speakers. Take into consideration that the purpose of the method is communication. It is key in a lesson. The teacher reserves a specific moment for conversational skills, as they give the students an opportunity to use the language in real contexts. And at this moment, it is important to say that the students should be motivated for the teacher to speak as much as they can in order to improve their communication skills. Concerning about the areas of language and language skills emphasized in the direct method, I would say that all the four skills are worked from the beginning. However, vocabulary is emphasized over grammar. Oral communication is viewed as basic. Thus, reading and writing exercises are based on oral practice, and pronunciation receives attention from the beginning. Another relevant issue when talking about a method is the way the teacher uses to correct students. Employing different techniques in the direct method, the teacher should get the students to self-correct, because it helps them to keep that piece of information in their minds. There are basically two forms to do that. The teacher can, for example, to use a questioning voice to show the student that there is something wrong in his answer, or the teacher can simply just repeat what the student has said, and the student might realize that there is something wrong in his answer. When talking about a method, one aspect that can't be forgotten is evaluation. In the direct method, the students are asked to show they can use the language and not to demonstrate their knowledge about the language. Therefore, they are asked to use their oral and written skills. So, in an evaluation, for example, they might be asked by the teacher to write a paragraph about a topic they studied, and they can also be interviewed by the teacher. To finish this section about the principles of the direct method, I would like to review some of the principles I've already talked about, and they are: there should be no use of mother tongue. The oral aspects of teaching should be emphasized. Every sentence which is complete is a means of expressing ideas. Grammar is taught inductively, and there is a systematic use of the vocabulary. It's still about the book, Principles and Techniques in Language Teaching. The author also says that by this method, it is possible to establish a direct association between the experience and the expression. Well, now I'm going to talk about some of the techniques that might be applied in a direct method class. Take into consideration that oral communication is viewed as basic in the direct method, I'm going to present two techniques that might be used in classes. The first is questions and answer exercises, and the second, conversation practices. In questions and answers exercises, the students receive questions, and they should answer these questions in full sentences in order to practice the grammar and the vocabulary they have studied. In conversation practice, the students are asked by the teacher questions, and they should be able to understand the questions to answer them correctly. Another relevant point concerning to techniques, it is the way the teacher practices the students' writing skills. In this case, dictation is a good practice, because the teacher dictates something like a paragraph, related to the vocabulary presented. Yeah, and the students should write what the teacher says. It is important to say that the teacher needs to dictate with some variation in the velocity and at least 3 times. Before to finish this video, I would like to talk the students and about the students and the teacher's role. The teacher's role is the students need to teach the students how to communicate in the target language and also motivate them to think in the target language. The students, however, should be less passive than they used to be in the past. They are now partners of the teacher in their teaching-learning process, which means they should be more participative and responsible for their own learning process. Therefore, interaction in the classroom happens from the teacher to the students, from the students to the teacher, and also from students to students as well. To finish this video, I want to say that considering the moment when it was created, the direct method was without any doubt a step forward in the development of the language teaching.